Hey guys, welcome to the Doomben preview, and I've got our regular guest and mounting yard expert, Nick Meredith. How you going, Nick?
Yeah, good. How's everyone?
Fantastic. Just busy betting everywhere around the world on every sport that exists. I mean, we've got the IPL on, we've got the rugby league on, we've got the Premier League. Oh, I'm just in heaven. Betting
IPL.
on.
I didn't know people gambled on cricket. No, there's a surprise.
Really?
I never knew.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big. And GK, this could be your last ever show with us because you've complained about the fact that you're giving away too much information and horses are jumping too short, GK. Is this true or not?
No, that's not true. I've more complained that I just keep smashing SP. The last few weeks have I've just been all over it in terms of SP, and then haven't been getting the right results. But it's been useful anyway. Like I've the last few days, I've done one of those periods where you sort of reflect on your results and try to work out whether it's just variance or there's other things going on. And I've tweaked a couple of things I do with my pricing in the last couple of days.
Well, obviously your pricing hasn't been wrong at all. If you're smashing SP, which you have been, like how do you? Okay, this is a great question. I know this is supposed to be a Doomben preview, guys, but how how are you handling that academically, GK? You know what I mean? Like if you're smashing SP, then you're not doing
Yeah,
anything wrong, are you? Or you are? Like, what's the story?
well, for me, when I looked at it, and without sort of doing like a statistical analysis or anything, just based on when I sort of segmented the data, one of the things that I kept coming back to was that a lot of the horses I'd found recently, I would say, have probably had B or C grade jockeys on them. And I think maybe I've been not as negative on those jockeys in my pricing as I could have been. And the Brisbane jockey ranks right now are very thin. We've got a few guys out. There's a couple of interesting additions now, like Vlad Jurik's riding on Saturday, which is a good addition. But I think there's a few times when I've looked back on the replays where I've thought, the jockeys have had an effect on the result there, and it's been pretty consistent. So I think in terms of my pricing, I'm not saying I have to like redo everything, but I just need to be a little bit more negative on my pricing for those.
Well, you know my rules, GK, with jockeys. I mean, I've said them a few times before, and that is, I mean, I tend to back favourites, but if the favourite doesn't have a primary jockey on it, then I need a premium in the price from what I've assessed it at.
Yeah.
When it's over $8, I don't care. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I just, whatever, you can do whatever you want in that price range, but in the shorty range.
Yeah, and like a lot of mine haven't been in like shorties. Like I wouldn't, be on a 3 kilo claimer who's riding something that's $2 or something. But like I have found quite a few have sort of been more in the sort of $5 to $10 range, and then they've started $3.50 or something. And it's just one of those things where it just kept appearing in the data when I segmented it. So I just thought,
Okay. So isn't the go there then to take it to maybe crunch, get stake back if they firm up too much like that and just punch out of the position?
Yeah, and I have thought about that before, and
Don't do it when the senior jockey's on it, but hold the ticket. Yeah. But
like I had one last week, I think, which was it was like $12 into $4.20, and it ran fourth.
Yeah.
And the ride was a Brisbane ride. Like that's how I described it to a friend.
Well, I tell you what. Well, Nick has become famous because everybody rings me and says Nick's quote, which is if they don't fall off, they're a top 10 jockey.
Leg them up if they don't fall off the other side.
And Nick, just before we begin, just a quick comment. I've had some people message me saying they're being a little bit disappointed with some of the Orman rides recently.
Very much. Yes.
Is there something to that, or what's the go? Just he's out of form.
He's out of form. Good. I mean, they're not robots. I mean, every sports person goes through form in that, and he certainly looks out of form at the moment. Was his ride in the first last week, Mathuba or Amathuba?
Yeah.
I mean, geez, what a disaster. That was as bad. It was as bad as it gets.
Malibu ride.
Yeah. Well, that was one that I was on, so I noticed that one.
That was poor as well. Look, he's always had some I've always thought he's had some issues with track bias, that doesn't ride it very well, which is pretty common with a lot of these guys up here. But he's certainly out of form at the moment. When he's in good form, he's pretty reliable up here, Jimmy. But I think he's out of form at the moment. I think his confidence is probably down a bit. He's had a few fairly well publicised disasters. There was Yellow Brick in the Winter Carnival. I was a little bit on his side in some aspects of that, but he was pretty heavily criticised for that. He was pretty heavily criticised when he went to Melbourne on Antino. That was a bit of a disaster. He got schooled down there. And then he rode a couple that were really poor over the Magic Millions Carnival. So he has got a bit of, he's starting to rack up a few that aren't great. And you look at his figures, they're starting to indicate it at the moment. So he's certainly off his game a bit at the moment. And you've got to be really wary.
You're not saying, you're just saying it's a confidence thing, because obviously he's one of the best jockeys up there. He's just having a little bit of a down patch due to a lack of confidence.
Yeah, well, I always went with the Warney quote was form's temporary, but class is permanent. And related to these guys up here, he's a good jockey, so I'm sure he'll bounce back. But
maybe you should get on the diet pills then, like Warney. Eh?
Maybe
a secret.
Yeah, why not? Obviously, he's out of form at the moment. I agree exactly with what you and GK were saying. There's some jockeys here that I've fallen into taking prices around $4 or $5 and that I'm just not going to do anymore if they're on. I've just decided. Look, Outlawed was an example of that last week. Was really confident, paraded great, and then just wasted time having a bet after, watching the race and that. So really got to start being a bit more selective on that, and you've got to get a price. But the people that are messaging you, Gord, are spot on. He's a bit out of form.
Beauty. Let's find some winners. We're plus 1 metre and currently a heavy 10. GK, can you say what you think the track conditions will be? What do you think the pattern will be? And then Nick, you're our weatherman up there. You can say whether it's going to improve or not. So, GK first.
Yeah, look, I think given the it seems like the rain's probably almost stopped, so I think we're probably going to be an 8 Saturday morning, and then we might start out on a 7. Just depending on what sort of temperature we get on the day. Because it's Doomben, I'm not sure we're going to improve much more than that. Like, I think we could be sort of in the 7 range most of the day. And then in terms of pattern, Doomben it's actually been interesting. The last few meetings, Doomben's played fairer than Eagle Farm, which is kind of not the sort of traditional pattern. So not expecting any particular lanes or anything, and just hoping that, the track holds up pretty fair, and then it'll just be, tempo related. We've got a lot of big fields on Saturday, so that's going to be interesting. And, I guess there is a chance that they might cut up the inside and might start to move to the middle later in the day, but we'll just have to assess after a few.
Beauty. Nick?
Agree 100%, mate. I just got to wait. I just look on the radar now. There's a heap of rain out west. I don't know if that's going to come in. If it does, then the track certainly won't improve. But we've lost the real summer heat now, so it's not going to dry out like it would have 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago. Doomben's different to Eagle Farm. I reckon pretty much what GK says in the morning, we'll probably have an 8 and we might get to a 7, but I can't see it getting much better than that. I think it's pretty wet.
Well, let's be a little bit nimble on that. And Nick, you'll be out there and seeing it live and chatting to the jockeys, so you can give us a bit of an update in the Brisbane Pro room. You know what I mean? That'd be great information.
Certainly, they're easy to grab at Doomben and ask them. So, no problem.
Race 1 over the 1,350 metres. So for 2-year-olds. So this is a distance race for 2-year-olds, although we are getting later season. GK, what do you got here?
Yeah, it's a race that I have very little interest in, but because I'm a sicko, I've obviously watched all of these races and all the replays. Just doing the replays on this race, I just thought the 2 favourites here, the 8 Jamoma Elpillage, I think it is, and Run Lucy Run, I thought that their last 2 runs were the best here. I thought the 8 actually, its last run was really nice, and I think stepping up to this trip will suit this horse. and similar for the 9 Run Lucy Run. But at this stage, I haven't bet, and I'm not sure I will bet in this race. So I'm probably just going to use this race to assess what track looks like.
Beauty. Nick?
I like my money too much to get involved here. Good. I will be watching, having a look. If anything, if there's any rain, it's a real heavy. If anything stands out as a wet track type, we might have a look, but not a lot of interest there, mate. We'll move on to the second.
Yeah, I think yard and breeding will be how we line up those 4 favourites. I think they're the obvious ones, but we could get a bit of an extra push on the day to find one of them as a bet. Race 2 over the 1,350 metres. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, well, look, one thing we should say before we get too far into this program is scratchings are going to make a huge difference between now and Saturday. There's some big fields, but Doomben, I think their maximum's around 16 runners in most of these races. So this race is one that will particularly be affected for me on what happens with scratchings. I had a good bet on Deferential on Wednesday at Eagle Farm. I was a little concerned about the 1,400, but clearly his best career run has been on a heavy track at Sunny Coast when he let down and won like a talented horse. And I think he probably, with even luck, has won his last 2 as well. He's been a bit unlucky. So he's certainly my starting point here if he gets a run. He needs a couple more to come out, but I think he's a fair chance of getting them to come out. One that did interest me at a bit of odds that I did notice had paraded particularly well last start. I hadn't really seen it before. That was, just check, good. It is number 16, Touch of Gracie. And it ran well at reasonable odds. It just paraded like a horse that's really thriving. And that yard gear and their horses often parade light, but they're a lot better at the moment. So they've obviously got them going well. So I was sort of half interested in it at some reasonable odds. And Jealous is the one that I've had a little bit of interest in the past, and obviously has some heavy track form, and as does the Toppy Dryal, which I've got some interest in, but definitely it depends on what happens with Deferential. If it stays in, then it's a bet. If it comes out, well, then we'll reassess.
Yeah, wet tracks, there's normally likely to be a lot of scratching, so will be up to stable whether they decide to run rather than them needing, other horses to scratch, I'd suggest.
Sure.
GK, what do you got?
Yeah, and Deferential is also nommed in the last as well. So
yep.
That's something to take into account. Look, I've been following Deferential all campaign. I think the horse has turned around since the stable switch. It's just a get back horse though. So, I think you need to take a price. And I'm not sure it'll get in this field. So I've just sort of put that to the side. I actually found the one Nick mentioned as well, Touch of Gracie. I thought it's over the odds here, and I've had something on that. I thought its 3 runs have been really good. And the other one I like, the one I've got on top, is actually the 2 New Level. I really liked that first up run. Finished off really well. Was trapped 3 wide during the run. And I think the step up and trip here is going to really suit it. Draws 7, gets Orman. I think that's a good starting point for this race. So I've had something on the 2 as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because, obviously that was its first run up in Canada, wasn't it? So small margin you've got the common lines there. Although, you got an SP of $61 there and $7.50 now, but I don't think we worry about SP so much in that circumstance when you've got a new horse, new stable, new state. You know what I mean? You can just judge it off the run and the performance rather than the SP.
It's only a class 1 too, Gord. It's not, it's not as
Look, the one that I think's found the right race is number 1, Driali. I'm expecting a peak performance, and I'm giving a big tick to wide draws on this program. So there you go. Race 3, 1,600 metres. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, not a lot, good. Not a race I spent a lot of time on. I had a look at them and a quick look at them. Just a fair bunch. There's going to be some more scratchings in this, I think. Actually, the one that sort of half interests me if I was to have a bet is the Toppy. This will be the one. I think he's starting to go all right, Jack Bruce. His horses are parading okay, and they seem to be running better than what their odds are saying they will. They're running better than SP. So that would be the one I'm sort of interested at the moment. There's some money around for the 10 later in the day. Look, not a big fan of the trainer jockey combo, so I'd want a premium to play there. So not a race I had a whole lot of interest in, to be honest. I'm sure you Southerners will find number 6, but no.
Yeah, provincial form being the stuff we go looking for.
Well, you consider that. You consider that Group 1 form in Queensland.
Yeah. What have you found, GK?
Yeah, look, I think Lady Dida is clearly on top here. It's a get back horse, so obviously you're going to have to take your medicine. But I like the draw here. The drop back in grade, I think it should have won. I think it was last week or maybe the week before, in a much stronger race than this, and I thought it was really unlucky. I just think it's going really well this campaign. Wet track's going to suit. I backed it. It was $5. I think it's a good bet. The other one I'm looking at is the 14, Fearless Thinking. This is another one where I think Healy has turned this horse around, and he seems to have got it going. 2 starts, slow, heavy. It's won both of them. It won that goat race at Gatton, but it was really dominant. They bet $26 yesterday, so I had to take a little snip at that. There's still $15 available. Yeah, I thought it was over, so I've backed both those two.
I'll tell you what, I had one on Wednesday at Kenzo where I took higher odds the place than what it SP'd the win.
That's an interesting bet.
Yeah, well, it came second, so I suppose that's something, but I did have a little bit on the win as well, which I didn't collect. But anyway.
Oh, by the way, congratulations on your bet in the last at Eagle Farm last week. Is it Dark Dream?
Oh, yeah. It was a good run. Nice little collect. Yeah. It was massive. It did firm up dramatically, Nick, but
yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It's
if I like them, they tend to do that for some reason.
It's an aging grey that won a Queensland Derby.
Yes.
Yeah, did round one. Nice. Well done.
Guys are going to think I'm mad here because the horse actually hasn't done a lot. But Nick, I have number 6 Prime Impact on top, and I am going to back it.
Okay.
Secret to this horse is a wet track, and it comes off a $150,000 race against Tabby Time. I know it didn't do much, and it was 80-1, but that's a lot stronger than this. This is perfect setup. Third up, wet track, early pace, wide draw, which I'm giving a tick to. So I just found it a really comfy bet. Race 4, 1,600 meters. And Nick, what have you got?
Going a bit wide here, Gord. I'm going to totally forgive Hyde's last run. Got his tongue over the bit.
Okay.
Just almost didn't compete. Its first up run was, it's not really a first up horse. It's normally a horse that runs really well second up, and it paraded great first up, and we had some on it. It was a decent price. It was well into double figures, and ran well above its SP. Second up, paraded really well again, and I was quite confident, had a good bet, and it just got its tongue over the bit, and things went wrong.
Hey, do you guys have a jockey yet or not?
No. That's the thing that concerns me, whether it's actually going to go around. There's no jock on at all. It's got some okay form on soft and that, so that's all right with me. They put a tongue tie on, so I obviously know what the problem was. So I was happy to play there at the odds. And I'm definitely opposing number 10, Iverson, particularly if it's heavy. I just give it none if it's heavy. It's a barrel of a horse, big heavy thing. It's got some okay form on soft, but once it gets into a heavy range, its form is not great. So I'm more than happy to oppose it if it's heavy on the day. And the one that's a real wet track type is number 8, Wallace Mascarat, who is your perfect wet track physique.
Beauty. And I'm just looking at Hyde here. It's out of Schnitzel too.
Ooh.
So tongue tie first time to get over that previous problem. Out of Schnitzel on a wet track. Seems interesting. JK, what do you got?
Yeah, look, I was going to forgive Hyde as well. I just, with no jockey, I wasn't sure it'd go around. If it does go around...
Isn't it 90% of the time if there's no jockey, they are scratched, aren't they?
Yeah. That's what I assumed. So if it does go
By the
around,
way, they shouldn't, and I do have a connection with the stable, so I'll try and get them to run. But they've generally already made up their mind.
So I mean, if it goes around, I'll definitely be having something on Hyde. Like I think you need to forgive it, and I think it's a really nice each way bet. The other one I actually don't mind here is Mayfair Spirit. First up run, it was great. Obviously at an unsuitable distance, and I think wet track, no problem. Step up and trip, great. And I actually think there's a chance they will roll forward here and maybe sit midfield or forward to midfield. Last time it was a fair way off Iverson and a few others, and it made good ground late. But I think this time around it could, sit maybe 2 pairs back or something. And yeah, I think it's going to be right in this race. So was happy to have something on Mayfair at $10, and if Hyde goes around, I think I have something on Hyde as well. I just do not want to be with these favourites in this race on this track. Respect Masquerade is a duck, but it's just not for me. And Iverson sort of on the fence about that. And I think Mayfair Spirit probably has more to give here.
Sounds like all three of us really want number one to run. Let's see what happens. Race 5 over the 16. Nick, what do you got?
Well, I don't know if it's going to go around, but I'm all over Transatlantic in a couple of multis and that as an anchor if it goes around. I think, well, we've been through it a few times on this show. We were keen on it first time and things went wrong, and then backed up again second time. And I think it showed what a talented horse it is. It just absolutely pissed in. Rode it far more positively, sat on the pace and ran away like a good horse. I've got no problem with the soft. It's another one that, breeding wise is just going to fly through it. It's a schnitzel out of gust of wind who run a
exactly. Yeah, it is some of the best wet breeding you have ever seen.
Exactly.
And what about type, Nick? What about type?
Yeah, no problem. No, it's still a colt, but it's not overly robust or too heavy or anything. So I have no problem at all, Gord. So I thought it was, I don't use the word moral, but I thought it was close to a good thing if it goes around. The only thing is that do they want to send it around if it's a heavy track? This, it's got bigger things ahead. But I think it's close to a good thing, and I couldn't really find anything else in the race that got close to it class-wise.
Beating, JK?
Yeah, it's a moral. There you go.
I love it. I love it. I finally got somebody on the show that I do that is willing to declare things like I do. GK, I'm so proud of you, mate. You're a brother from
if it goes around, it's complete moral. This horse has way above ability for Brisbane. This is a good horse, and like I said that when they drew low, second up, they're going to go forward. They're going to go forward again, and they're probably going to lead again. And it's just got to turn a foot that none of these else have, and it's going to control. It's just perfect scenario. Obviously, that breeding, it just wins if it goes around. But I have heard that they might scratch. So we'll see.
For me, it's Winks odds. I don't think it can be beat. I went and had a look at that Doomben run, Nick, where that was the softest track it had been on. Now, it didn't look really comfortable, but it wasn't because of the conditions. It was more just because of its manners. You know what I mean?
It was very new. It was very new, Gord.
I
think it's just starting to figure it out, this horse. Like it paraded, I did put in the chat that it had improved significantly off its first start run. It was still a bit colty, like it was playing around a bit, but it didn't get hot and anything like that. It was still in great order. It improved. Look, I've never wanted to put lengths on it, but obviously it improved lengths off its first up run, and it had improvement to come. So I reckon it'll be spot on the weekend.
I think we might be talking about another horse that we don't get to see on by the time Saturday comes. But anyway, who cares? Stick it in some multis, guys, because if it does run, then you'll get a nice little bit of value, and if it's scratched, you've still got the other ones running for you as well. Which guys, if you're looking for no, I won't say that. I'll tell you guys off camera. Um, race 6 over the 2,000 metres. Nick, what do you got?
Look, didn't really like the race, Gord. We've talked about these forever and a day, these races. We did have a good result with Red Top down the Gold Coast. And it was one that did win against the pattern of the day on that track. Remember, it was the sand track when it was very leader biased, but it did run down Daytona Bay, which is pretty good form. But they did go really quick in that race, so it had the chance to get home, but it still did a good job. Jockey is a massive no for me at the moment. That's one of those ones that unless I can get, I'm almost double figures before I'll even entertain it. Sick of it. It's happened to me too many times. Just not happening again.
It's kind of just silly with these trainers, isn't it? You know what I mean? They say, oh my God, 61 kilos, I've got to put an apprentice on. Well, why don't you just leave Angela Jones on it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, so it's almost at those odds, it's just going to be a no-go for me at the moment. Disputed River's obviously racing well, been a good horse to us. I'd give a sneaky chance to Chase and Artie too. I think conditions might suit him here, but it's not a race I'll really get too heavily involved in, I wouldn't think.
Beauty. JK?
Yeah, look, I think the form lines of Red Top and Disputed River are pretty rock solid, but I just went looking for a little bit of DF, I guess, and I actually quite liked that race that Dealer Humor won last time. It was actually a really fast run 1800, and both it and Golf Autonomy, I thought they finished off really well. Now, you could say that they got the right run in that race, which is probably fair enough, but I really do like that setup of a really fast run 1800 going up to a 2000, which is probably going to be run at a bit more of a moderate tempo. I think it sets them up really well to platform off it. So I think I'm actually going to have something on both of those two, to be honest. I think there's about $8 for Dealer Humor and $11, $12 Golf Autonomy around. So I'm just going to have something small on both them and bank on that being the form for this race.
Yeah, I kind of like both horses that have been mentioned there, but it's got to be a low confidence race.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on to race 7 over the 1,200 metres. And, either or. I just did the form on the either or for maybe running down in Flemington on Saturday, but yeah, we'll see what happens there. Nick, what do you got here?
Yeah, pretty keen to play here, Gord. Already had a good bet on Chinny Boom. I think she's a superior horse. She got beat over this track and distance 0.8 of a length by Lady Laguna less than 12 months ago. So I don't think she's improved to the level that Lady Laguna has, but I think she's a genuine horse. She tries hard. She puts herself in the race. Just looks a perfect setup for me. There was a couple that I might save, and I was sort of a bit intrigued by the number 2, Estero. I looked back at some of its runs and they were quite interesting. And if it is a wet track, like a serious, significantly wet track, well, Mississippi Prince and Northern Express would really come into that. I'm sure Dodd's sitting back. I'm sure Dodd will send us a message in the next hour saying, remember when I backed Mississippi Prince to win on Ipswich Cup Day at $16? I guarantee he will remind us of it.
Well, saying that, we best off mention the fact that if you want to get good odds on great chances, then you should actually go looking to bet with Sportsbet because they have the worst analysts in Australia, and they'll let you on for a bet. So, and if you want to take advantage of them, you can get Nick's information and GKs and everything in the Brisbane Pro chat room, and you can clean Sportsbet bet out because they don't have very much money because their traders struggle.
So GK, I've got Ginny Boom clearly on top and have had a bet, but just wanted to keep an eye on if it does dry out a little bit. Number 13, Russian Alliance, ran third behind Chinny Boom, I think it was, down the coast, but it paraded enormously first up. It was one of the best parades of the day. So it's in for a good campaign, particularly for the stable when they parade like that. I think they're going really well. So I'll keep an eye on that. But Chinny Boom for me.
Yeah, wow. This is interesting, JK. What do you got?
Yeah, look, I really like this race, but I can't bet yet because I want to know what either or's doing because it's going to have a really big impact on the map here.
Oh, shit, yeah.
The tempo of this race. I love Chinny Boom. I said it last time, and I said last time when it ran at the coast that I think it's gone to a different level this prep. So, it's one of mine. But I actually think if either or's in this race, that this is actually quite a interesting situation for Chinny Boom. And if either or does run here, I actually think I'm going to back Astero and Russian Alliance. I really liked that first up win from Astero. That's good form. Like,
Yeah.
beat Casablanca. That's pretty hot form for Brisbane. And I really liked the run of Russian Alliance. And I also think coming off that enormous break, that it would have needed the run. And I'm expecting it to come on here. Lightweight, wide barrier, out of Russian Revolution. This looks like it could work for Russian Alliance here. So if either or is here, I think I'm going to have something on Acero and Russian Alliance, but I just need to wait. If it's out, I'm just going to reconsider things again and try to work out what strength the tempo is, because that might change things, and then that might actually make Chinny Boom a bet.
It's actually weird because, I mean, you guys just declared Chinny Boom last start, and I mean, I had some on it, but it wasn't a primary. And, short price horses like that, they're sort of my bread and butter. And I just thought, I was just so impressed with this victory last start. I pretty much thought in my head, I'm just going to back it anywhere next start. You know what I mean? And it's just found the wrong race for me.
Yeah.
I think Astero is the way to go here. So I haven't finished the race yet, but I'm going to be struggle to take even money is what I'm saying. It's all price oriented. Of course, you price Chinny Boom favourite. Oh, have you priced him GK or not?
I've got Chinny Boom $2.50.
Yeah. I think that's where I'll land as well, and I'll be about $5 a steer or something like that.
Now, that's obviously based on either or being in.
Yeah.
So where either or's in Melbourne as well.
Yeah.
But they got a jock book down there, do you know?
Yeah, I think that they did. They did, and it might have been. I'll bring it up. I'll just go. I'll go to race 8 over the 11:10. Nick, you can start talking about that, and I'll just bring it up so that we know.
Race 8 over the 11:10. Yeah, I'm going to play here. People will see its last 2 wins are at Gatton, Warwick, and Dolby. Number 1 Circularity, but the win at Dolby was in the time-honoured Dolby Newmarket, which actually was a decent field this year. Ned's Gully ran round it, and Stereo, I think it was, that ran well in town, and so Warwick that ran well in town last week. So it's actually turned out at this stage to be a really good form race. I like the trainer. I like the map for it. It's a quick horse. It certainly won't lead. If number 15 Campai goes around, it'll lead. It's the quickest horse in the world over the first 600, so it'll lead. But I thought this thing would get a nice trail in behind it. Can pick its mark where it sits from the draw, and I thought it was a reasonable bet around $7-8. Number 1 Circularity. I think it's a horse that's going well off a good form race, and happy to play there at those prices.
Beauty. Has that had a stable change in its career?
It sure has.
Yeah, because I remember backing it in. So I back it in Sydney a couple of times. I'll just bring it up.
Had a couple of, it was with Friedman.
Yeah.
And prior to that, it was with, might even have been Ma prior to that, but it's had a couple of stable changes. Yeah.
Beauty. GK, what do you got?
Yeah, look, this is impossible.
Mate, have a bet.
Jeez. This is impossible. But
hey, he's got the trumpet out for a moral, you know. So
look, I need to see the final fields before I can get into this. I found this quite tricky with the emergencies and then how that sort of changes the map. So I'll just say the horses that I'm interested in. So the 4 Avalante, I think it's got stronger form lines than a number of these, but it had a pretty average last campaign, and the trial wasn't great, I didn't think, but I think the horse does have something, and I thought it's under the odds. Over the odds. Typhoon Tavi, I really liked that trial before the first up run, and I thought it was a little unlucky. I think it's just going to stalk the pace here, so it's probably going to get into a decent spot. And then the other one that interested me was Oakfield Duke, but I need to see final field so I can work out tempo in this race and where things are going to map, because I think that's going to be important.
The one that I had the closest look at, haven't finished the race yet, was Circularity. Nick, I'm thinking maybe Wet No Good.
You go back, there's a couple of runs on softs and that aren't bad, good.
Yeah.
I think early on it ran into Breeders' Plate, this horse. It was Mar, then it went to Friedman and that, but I looked at that too. It's got no real significant wet track form, but a couple of its runs on the soft
we don't really know, but
have been okay. So I'm not stamping that it can't go. So
well, we'll just go off the yard. If it is a wet track, then
exactly.
you can tell us what type it is. Because have you seen it? Because it was a doubt. Oh, you would have seen it ages ago, but you haven't seen it recently.
I can't remember. I went back and had a look, and I couldn't find anything. So no, I'm just going to treat it as first time I've seen it, and if it's the right physique and that, we'll give it a tick. If not, then we won't.
Beauty. Race 9, 1,350 metres, GK.
Yeah, it's another race I struggle with to put it together and to sort of map things. But I have had a bet, and it's on a few roughies, just a few tiny bets. I thought the 2 Kendrick horses are over the odds. I thought Tidal Creek looks to get a pretty straightforward lead here. It's also a duck, and I really liked the trial. $17 around. That was just easy for me. The other one was Hard Reaver, which also has webbed feet. I'd say gets in that 3 wide line. I took $21. I've had tiny bets on those two. I was happy to spec those and to take on the fave, Kanazawa, and some of those others, in single figures. I just couldn't take those prices in a race like this with so many unknowns and variables.
Beauty. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how the 8 Kanazawa parades. I remember last time it got beat a couple of times up here at really short odds, and we thought, it's gone, this horse. And it paraded like, in Pollitt terms, a baked rabbit. There was just nothing to it at all. It's an ex-Godolphin, isn't it? They bought through the online lines and got it from there. Tell you what, this campaign, it is a different horse. They've given it a voucher to Sizzler or whatever, but it has eaten up.
Sizzler. The Sizzler. I'm going to say this. Sizzler has gone in New South Wales, but it's probably still in Queensland.
I think it's gone. I think it's gone.
A couple of months ago. 10 years behind or something.
Yeah, but how good was the cheesy toast that you used to get in the potatoes?
Oh, but you know what? You'd fill up on the cheesy toast and not eat the other stuff. You know what I mean?
That was my
That's how they made money.
That was my pre-game meal, was Sizzler in Newcastle before we go to a game.
Did you really?
I loved it, mate.
Like how long? Like 5 hours before or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Give yourself plenty of time for it to get through your guts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nighttime game, that was lunch.
And that was to soak up GK all the beer he'd had the night before, Nothing like being a professional soccer player in that era.
Yeah, that was on a away trip. That was on a away trip, Scott.
Yeah.
But look.
Hey, mate, Nick, who was the Indonesian bloke who had awesome ball skills that played for like Sydney, Croatia or whatever? Manus
Lemon.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did he party or what? Jeez.
Yeah, he was actually, I think he was PNG. But
was he Papua New Guinea, was he?
Manus did like a good time,
Yeah.
And he enjoyed his career, but he had some skill. He had some skill, I tell you. Yeah.
Sorry, Brisbane punting experts out there, but we had a bit of a tangent, but a funny one.
He's just come back a completely different horse. It did win last time. It only beat our Magnus, which is a bit of a nonny and all that sort of thing. But I sort of give a big tick to horses when it looks like they've improved significantly physically. And I think the track and everything will suit. It just has a habit of starting unders because it's bloody syndicated by Ladbrakes, this horse.
Yeah.
So it's got 1,000 owners, so they all have a crack. So it always starts. So if you're going to back Kanazawa, I would say wait, because true market will tell in the last few minutes. So, but I'm really interested.
By the way, Nick, that's a good tip for everybody out there, that if you're looking at horses like this, do check. You should always have a squizzy peek at the ownership.
Yeah.
If there's a big group, then the corporates, they deliberately open them up shorter because they know that the owners are just going to plow in anyway. So why not lay it at a shorter price? And then later on, if you still want to back it, it'll get back to its true odds later. So, it's a great tip.
I had it certainly as a horse to watch. And I do take on board what GK said about Tidal Creek. I think it's definitely one of the ones that's over the odds at the moment. And as we've mentioned a few times recently, that stable is absolutely flying in Brisbane at the moment. compared to where they were 12 months ago, it's been a massive turnaround. So instead of being a bit of a no 12 months ago, it's now 2 ticks nowadays. So yeah, definitely keen to see how it parades.
And so both of you giving none to number one?
No, it was in my numbers, Gordo, so I didn't get to it. I just had it down there. But yeah, it's got a chance for sure.
Yeah, it was thereabouts. I just didn't want to take that price in this race. Yeah,
I'm saying this time of the day, absolute cut up on the inside. I'm giving a tick to wide draws earlier on. I've got to give even more a tick now. It's got some really solid stuff on wet, and normally I would mark it considerably down for it being first up on a trying track. That's a key negative, but it's only a short break, Ben. Like, it's not that long of a break. So
yeah, no, it's got a lot of residual fitness. I'd
say. Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting one, and sorry, you're GK. I'll have $1 billion bet with you. I'll have Eaglemont and Kanazawa, and you can choose any other 4 runners for $1 billion.
God, this race is horrendous.
I've chosen the right one then, Nick.
Yeah.
Excuses already from GK. Jeez, come on.
Okay, if you're not confident about it, we'll leave it alone.
Take the favourite and the second favourite. So you've taken 50% of the market or something. So
what am I at? Oh no,
you've taken about 30%.
36, something like that. I've left plenty for you to work with. You can have the rest of the field if you like. Anyway, let's move on to race 10. Nick, race 10 over the 1350. What do you got?
What do we got here? Sorry, hang on. Just give me a sec. Race 10. I found a bet here, but then I looked at the jockey and I just can't. This will obviously depend on scratchings too, because if you can see right down the bottom there, we got differential is in this field as well, and it's probably going to get a run here. I'd say only needs, was he 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It only needs 2 more to come out, so he'll probably get a run here. So I'll certainly be interested to see if he gets a run here. I like the 4 Evocator. I think it's a good horse. The track and everything suits, but
so you actually want differential to be in the other race. You don't want it in this race.
I would prefer differential in the other race.
Okay.
I like Evocator as a horse. It didn't parade great first up and still won. It had some good improvement in it, but I can't back her. I'm not at those prices. I've got to get double figures before I entertain it. It's just another one of those recent. I've just made that decision recently. I'm just not doing it anymore. The one that really surprised me first up was Star of Chaos. There was any amount of money for it. It paraded fatter than Latrell Mitchell. It did not look like it was ready at all. And then it sat outside on a hot speed and had no chance. I did not understand the money at all that came for that horse. And it looked like one that was going to need, not going to be ready second up either. It was going to be 3 or 4 runs in before it got fit. So, but if it does turn up significantly tightened up, I'll be interested there, because I obviously think it's going okay by the money for it. But yeah, another one we got to wait and see with the scratchings. But yeah, I just don't understand the jockey engagement on the 4. I know it won last time, but geez, not going to the well again.
Beauty. GK, what do you got?
Yeah, same thing on Evocator. Just cannot back it at that price with this jockey. I think Star of Chaos is probably going to look better in the yard. Just this, the pattern for this stable, Nick. You know the story.
It can't look worse, GK. It really can't. I was stunned how fat it was. So yeah.
But they improve them so much second up. So yeah. I think it will be improved. And then it just had none sitting there on that tempo. So look, I haven't backed it, but if Nick gives me the tick from the yard, I will definitely be having something on Star of Chaos. And just leaving aside differential, because I don't know whether it'll get in this field. The 2 that I like, the first one is Vianda Chance. I think the drop back in distance is going to suit it. I think this is a good race for it. The other one I have had something on at, I don't know, $26 or something, is the 13, the Lioness. it trialled really nicely, I thought. And I get Rod, I get $26. That was an easy bet for me. I think it'll probably just stalk speed, maybe 2 or 3 pairs back. So that's going to work. I also looked at Field Weary, but I didn't think it would probably run here just because there's no jockey. I really like the last couple of runs. It just can't win in Sydney at present in those races. But this is a significant downgrade in terms of the quality here. So I've had something, the Lioness. I'll probably have something Vienna Chance. I might have something Star Chaos. That's probably how I'm going to play it.
I tell you, it's a super tough race. The obvious one. Yeah, sorry, Nick.
Dodd's mates have gone up, and his mates have gone up top odds. Brentwood #1. But I see some markets have still got it around $6, $6.50. If it's $6 or $6.50, I'm going to lay that until the nose bleeds because it is an absolute runt.
Okay.
It's parades like Tarzan, runs like Jane. So I will.
Yeah.
If it's in the market, it's a max lay.
Part of a P.
Yep. 100%.
Me, obviously, the one I went looking for was Field Weary. Yet again, I could be talking about a horse that's going to get scratched. It's in really good form, man. And Glenn, our Sydney mounting yard guy, reckons this horse is just like the healthiest he's ever seen it.
Oh, okay. So it normally parades pretty well. So it's going in good order.
Even better now, Nick. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm not 100% sure about the wet with it, but the horse is airborne and it's down in the weights. But we don't have a jockey. There's one where I'm going to have one last crack at gigantic odds. It'll be probably the last time ever because I've backed this a couple of times, but at long odds, so it's not a big deal. And it's number 12, Tip of Spear. Maybe this is just an absolute wetty, guys.
What do you what about its action and everything last time, Gord? You reckon it just because
I think the horse is gone, Nick, but I just it's 30 to 1. It's 30 to 1, and maybe the trick to it is the wet track.
Because at the turn, I thought, this is going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah. Well, we've given it a flukish chance in both of its runs.
Yeah.
At Doomben and Eagle Farm, and it's disappointed us. Maybe the trick is the wet. You even have a look at the trials. See the trial at Ballina there was on a sticky surface. That was a really nice trial. And the trial at Bow Desert wasn't so good, and that was on a good track. Maybe it's just a wetty, and we get 30 to 1 to find out. A couple of little gear changes there as well. Anyway, I've yet again talked for too long about a roughie and I don't really care about them. GK, best of the day, please.
Ooh, hard day for best bets early. I think for me at this stage, it's probably Lady Didar and maybe New Level in race 2. But I really need to see scratchings and and then so look, I'll provide sort of some updated bets Saturday morning in the chat room with some of the things I'm doing. And I also might have found a complete and utter moral for us at Bow Desert on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well, not to be revealed on the show, only to be revealed in Nick's channel. Is that the go, is it?
That's the one.
I love it. Oh, mate, I'm going to make sure you text me when you I'll give everybody that's in the room 2 minutes before I start backing it, GK. Okay?
That's fair. That's fair.
Nick, yet again, I love these cards. It's just like when Glenn's doing the mounting yard in Sydney and we're at like Warwick Farm on a wet track and stuff like that. People don't realize, I'm not a massive yard guy, but on wet tracks, it is so important, man. It is so important.
Yeah, it's massive good. It is significant. I like wet days. A lot of punters don't, but I love them.
Oh shit, yeah. Because you don't only find the types that are going to handle the conditions. You find the ones that have the fitness as well, and you need both. You know what I mean? You need fit and you need wet track type. And a lot of the times the form just doesn't really show it to you while the yard does. It's so important.
Agree 100%. Yep.
Okay, so we'll just finish right now. GK, who are you backing? Are you backing East or Penrith tonight?
I'm not betting in that game.
Okay. In the Brisbane North Queensland game, who are you backing?
Well, I support the Cowboys, so I'll be loading the Cowboys.
Okay. Nick, same two questions.
Don't care tonight. Don't like either of them.
Two
going-
Sydney teams.
Yeah, two Sydney. The snot noses and the shit kickers, so don't care about them. Tomorrow, going to the game, chips in the Cowboys, loaded up Cowboys.
Ooh. And what did you get? Even money or something like that?
No,
Or
$1.90. $1.90.
$1.90. Oh, well, you shopped well already. So that's
Yeah,
good.
chips in Cowboys. So Cowboys transatlantic for me at the moment, but there's a couple of roughies. Well, not roughies, but I think Hyde's a roughie at $17. I'll certainly be interested to see how it parades, and I'm giving it a really good chance. And circularity in race 8 seems overs to me. So looking forward to it. We'll tread carefully early. We'll certainly get some feedback on how the track plays from the jocks, and then we'll put that in the chat. And let's rip in.
Beauty. Good luck. Good punting, guys. Thanks, CK. Thanks, Nick.
Cheers, guys.